My parents forced me to babysit my sister's kids every weekend without peso. I walked out, moved away, and let them drown in their own guilt. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and for as long as I can remember, my parents have treated me like free labor, not family. Growing up, I was the middle child, the one who filled in the gaps while everyone else took up space. My older sister, Jessica, was the golden child. She was beautiful, charming, and could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Every success she had was celebrated with champagne and applause. My younger brother, Evan, was the baby clumsy adorable, always forgiven, and me. I was the responsible one, the helper, the one expected to clean up everyone else's mess. My childhood was a blur of chores, errands, and quiet sacrifices. While Jessica got to chase her dreams, and Evan got away with breaking rules, I was the one asked to be understanding if I ever complained. Mom would sigh and say, "Sweetheart, not everyone is as dependable as you." Somehow, that sentence always sounded more like a punishment than a compliment. Even as an adult, that pattern never really changed. Jessica got married young, to a man who made decent money, and soon had 2 kids. My parents beamed with pride, showing off pictures like she'd given them the greatest gift in the world. Meanwhile, I was working full-time, trying to save for my own apartment, but still getting phone calls from Mom asking me to swing by and help with groceries or drive Dad to his appointments. Then one weekend, it started innocently enough. Jessica had some work emergency, and Mom asked, "Can you watch the kids just for a while?" I said yes, thinking it was temporary, just a favor for family. But even then, something in my gut told me this wasn't a one-time thing. I just didn't realize that saying yes that day would be the beginning of years of emotional exhaustion I never signed up for. At first, it felt harmless, almost nice, even. I'd show up at Jessica's house on Saturday mornings, and the kids would run into my arms like I was their favorite person in the world. Mom would call to thank me, her voice dripping with that familiar guilt-laced sweetness. "You're such a blessing to this family, honey. Jessica's under so much stress, you're really helping her hold it all together." Those words were supposed to feel like love, but they felt more like chains. What began as just for a while quickly turned into every weekend. If I hinted that I had plans, Mom's tone would shift instantly. "Jessica can't find anyone else, and you know how hard she's working. You're not going to let your nieces suffer, are you?" That one question, so sharp and guilt-ridden, always backed me into a corner. I'd cancel outings, turn down invitations, even skip company events because family comes first. Jessica never seemed grateful. She'd drop the kids off like I was some unpaid nanny and disappear for hours. Sometimes she wouldn't even answer her phone when I needed to ask when she'd be back. One time, when I asked if she could at least bring snacks for the kids, she laughed and said, "You're so good at this. You probably have it all covered anyway." My parents reinforced her behavior every chance they got. "You're lucky those kids adore you," Dad said once, as if that made it all okay. They painted Jessica as the hardworking mother and me as the selfless aunt-like. My sacrifices were just part of my identity, and slowly, it became exactly that. My weekends weren't mine anymore. They were scheduled, expected, demanded. But I kept telling myself it was family. Until one day, that word stopped feeling like love and started feeling like a trap. It didn't take long before the line between helping out and being used completely disappeared. My phone would buzz every Friday afternoon with a text from Jessica, "Dropping the kids at 6. Be ready." No question mark, no apology, just an order. And if I didn't respond right away, Mom would call within minutes, her voice thick with disappointment. "Jessica's got a lot on her plate, sweetheart. Don't make her stress more than she already is." At first, I tried to set small boundaries. "Mom, I have plans this weekend," I said once. There was a pause, then the sigh. "I just don't understand how you can be so selfish when your sister's doing her best to raise those children." My stomach twisted with guilt, like I'd just broken some sacred family rule. So, I canceled my plans. Again, the emotional pressure was relentless. Mom started showing up at my apartment unannounced with the kids, saying they missed their auntie so much. "We'll pick them up Sunday." I'd stand there, holding the door open, feeling trapped in my own home. Jessica didn't even pretend to thank me anymore. Once, when I told her I was exhausted after working overtime all week, she smirked and said, "You're tired? Try being a real mom." That one stung more than I expected by then. I'd stopped feeling like part of the family and started feeling like the family's employee, one who didn't even get paid. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering when this became my life. But every time I thought about saying no again, I heard my mother's voice in my head, soft, accusing. "Impossible to escape. You'll understand when you're a mother someday." And deep down, I began to fear that maybe she was right, that this was just who I was meant to be. A few weeks later, Jessica decided to host a family dinner. She called it a way to celebrate togetherness. But I knew better. It was her chance to show off her perfect life again. I arrived straight from work, still in my scrubs, hair tied up, smelling faintly of disinfectant from the clinic. Jessica opened the door in a designer dress, holding a glass of wine, her kids squealing in the background. "You made it," she chirped, brushing past me to take a selfie for her Instagram story. The table was picture-perfect candles, matching plates, soft music. My parents sat at the head, glowing with pride. "We're so proud of Jessica," Mom said, lifting her glass. "Balancing motherhood, work, and family. It's inspiring." I smiled weakly, but the words sank like stones. I wanted to say I'm the one keeping it all from falling apart, but I bit my tongue. Halfway through dinner, Jessica laughed about how Ava practically lives at my house now, referring to me. Everyone chuckled, like it was some cute family joke. I forced a smile, my chest burning. "Well, someone has to make sure your kids eat real food," I muttered quietly. Jessica's laughter died instantly. "Don't start, Ava," she said sharply, her tone dripping with warning. My parents exchanged glances and Dad chimed in, "Let's not make a scene." "Your sister's just tired, Jess." Like always, I was the problem for speaking the truth. The rest of the night, I barely spoke. Jessica kept smiling for photos while my parents praised her for being such a good mother. I felt invisible, sitting in that candlelit room full of people who couldn't see me at all when I left. Mom hugged me and whispered, "Don't ruin things with jealousy." Sweetheart, that's when it hit. Me, they genuinely believed I was the jealous one. It happened on a Friday evening I'll never forget. I was wrapping up a big project at work, one that could have finally gotten me a promotion, when Jessica called. Her tone brisk and entitled, "Hey, I'm dropping the kids off in 30 minutes. I've got a last-minute business trip." I froze. "Jess, I can't. I have a presentation tomorrow morning. I need tonight to prepare." She sighed dramatically. "Ava, it's just one night. You always help. Don't make this difficult." Before I could reply, she hung up. And right on cue, my parents called seconds later. Mom's voice was sharp. "Your sister's depending on you. Those children need stability. You're not going to let them down, are you?" I stood there, phone in hand, feeling my pulse in my temples. They didn't even ask, they expected. And like always, I caved. Jessica dropped the kids off, barely saying hello, then sped away with a cheerful wave. That night, while I tried to juggle preparing slides and keeping the kids entertained, exhaustion swallowed me whole. I fell asleep at my laptop, and by morning, I'd missed my alarm. I arrived late to work, frazzled and ashamed. My boss looked disappointed as he said, "You're talented, Ava, but if I can't rely on you, I can't promote you." I drove home numb. When Jessica came to pick up the kids, I confronted her. "You cost me a promotion, Jessica." She just blinked, completely unfazed. "You're exaggerating. Family helps family. You should be proud to be part of something bigger than yourself." I wanted to scream, but my throat locked. Then Mom called a gangery this time. "I can't believe you'd guilt your sister after everything she's juggling." That was the moment something in me cracked. I realized no matter what I gave, they'd always find a way to make me feel like it wasn't enough. A few weeks later, I went to my parents' house to drop off some papers Dad needed signed. The house was quiet, except for the faint hum of conversation coming from the kitchen. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but when I heard my name, I froze. Jessica's voice floated out first, light and smug. "Well, I'm paying them, aren't I? You said it's only fair since Ava won't take money directly." Then Mom's voice calm, almost pleased. Yes, dear, and we appreciate it. It helps with bills. Besides, Ava doesn't need to know it. Would just upset her. My stomach twisted. Paying them? I stepped closer, heart pounding. Jessica chuckled. I mean, I'm not running a charity. She's basically my full-time babysitter. At least you to get something out of it. My father's low laugh followed. Exactly. She'd probably feel insulted if she knew. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My parents, my own parents, had been taking money from Jessica for my help. They'd turned my so-called family duty into a secret business arrangement, and they'd lied about it, pretending my sacrifices were voluntary. I stepped away from the doorway, hands shaking. All the guilt trips, all the manipulation, it wasn't about love or family at all. It was about convenience, about profit. When I finally confronted them that evening, Mom's eyes went wide with mock shock. Ava, you're blowing this out of proportion. Jessica just wanted to help us financially.
Hey.
By selling my weekends behind my back? Dad crossed his arms. Watch your tone. You're being dramatic again. Something inside me went silent, then not angry, not sad, just done. I realized in that moment I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was their resource, their tool, and for the first time in my life, I decided I wouldn't be either after that night. Something inside me shifted permanently. I didn't explode or confront them just started disappearing, slowly, deliberately. I stopped answering calls right away. When Mom texted, Jessica needs you this weekend, I replied, I'm busy. No explanation, no apology. Just the truth they'd never respected. At first, they didn't take it seriously. Mom showed up at my apartment one Saturday with the kids in tow, chirping, we'll pick them up Sunday night. I didn't even open the door. I just said through the crack, you need to leave, Mom. Her cheerful expression faltered. Ava, stop this nonsense. I shut the door anyway. My hands were shaking, but it felt like breathing for the first time. The calls multiplied after that. Jessica begging, Mom guilt-tripping, Dad lecturing. You can't just abandon your family, he said once, his voice tight with anger. You owe us better. I laughed bitterly. I don't owe you anything. That silence that followed was the kind that stretches between people who finally see the truth and hate it. In the quiet that followed, I started rediscovering myself. I worked late without guilt. I went to brunch with coworkers. I slept in on weekends without being interrupted by crying children. My apartment felt alive again, not like a holding cell. But there was still fear and odd, suffocating guilt that maybe I was the villain now. Years of conditioning don't unravel overnight. Sometimes I'd stare at my phone, thumb hovering over Mom's name, wondering if I was being too cold. Then I'd remember the laughter in that kitchen, the way they joked about keeping me in the dark, and my resolve hardened again. I wasn't being cruel. I was just finally learning how to stop being useful to people who only loved me when I served them. I thought I was finally getting my peace back, till they showed up at my job. It was a Friday afternoon, and I was wrapping up a meeting when I heard my manager say, Ava, there's a couple here asking for you. I walked out into the lobby and my stomach dropped. Mom and Dad stood there, holding Jessica's kids by the hand like some twisted family ambush. Mom's voice was syrupy sweet at first. Sweetheart, Jessica had an emergency. Just for this weekend, please. I froze, aware of my coworkers watching from their desks. Mom, you can't just show up here, I whispered. But her smile vanished. Don't start, Ava. You've been acting selfish lately. These are your family. The kids clung to her leg, confused, while Dad's tone turned cold. You're embarrassing us. Do your part. My boss stepped forward gently, trying to defuse the situation, but the damage was already done. Everyone could see it how small they made me feel. I told them quietly but firmly, you need to leave. Mom's face twisted in disbelief. After everything we've done for you, I wanted to scream, you mean everything I've done for you? Instead, I turned away, feeling tears sting my eyes. Security had to escort them out, and when the doors finally shut, I just stood there shaking, humiliated. Later that night, Jessica called. Nice job making Mom cry, she snapped. You've completely lost it, Ava." Then she hung up before I could respond. I sat on my couch in the dark, my phone lighting up with missed calls and messages that blurred together, selfish, ungrateful, heartless. The silence afterward was deafening. That was my rock bottom. Not because they rejected me, but because, for the first time, I saw exactly how little I'd ever meant to them. And once you see that kind of truth, you can't unsee it. That weekend I didn't sleep much. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the echoes of my mother's voice looping in my head, selfish, ungrateful, heartless. But beneath the ache, there was clarity. I couldn't fix this. I couldn't make them see my worth. I couldn't keep bleeding myself dry for people who fed off my guilt. By Sunday morning, I'd made my decision. I opened my laptop, found a small apartment 2 hours away, and sent in the deposit. It wasn't fancy, just a one-bedroom near my job, but it felt like oxygen. As I packed my boxes over the next few days, I didn't tell anyone. Every piece of clothing, every dish I wrapped, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself they'd taken. When I finally carried the last box out of my old apartment, I left a note on the counter, short, sharp, and honest. "I'm done being the family babysitter. Take care of your own kids." The phone calls started within hours. Mom first, sobbing. "Ava, what is this? Where are you? You can't just run away from family." Then Dad, his voice thick with anger.
"Grow up.
"Stop acting like a victim." And finally, Jessica, her message cold and clipped. "You're punishing everyone over nothing." I didn't respond to any of them. I blocked their numbers, packed up my car, and drove away. With every mile, the weight on my chest got lighter. The city skyline faded in my rearview mirror, replaced by open road and silence, beautiful, freeing silence. When I unlocked my new apartment, I stood in the doorway and just breathed. No kids screaming, no guilt trips, no manipulation, just peace. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the dependable one. I was just me. And that felt terrifying. But it also felt like freedom. The silence didn't last long. Within a week, my parents' numbers were popping up from new phones I didn't recognize. I ignored them. Then came the emails. Emotional paragraphs from Mom about how difficult things have been since you abandoned us. She wrote about Jessica's struggles as a single mother, how the kids miss their favorite aunt, and how I should be ashamed for punishing the family over a misunderstanding. Every word dripped with guilt. Not remorse, but I stayed firm. I'd spent too many years mistaking manipulation for love. And while they were spiraling, my life was finally beginning to bloom. I got that promotion at work, the same one I'd missed because of them. My manager said, "You've really stepped up lately." I smiled, thinking, yeah, because no one's dragging me backward anymore. Still, curiosity got the best of me. One night I checked Jessica's social media. The perfect photos were going to know more dinner parties, no hashtag mom goals captions. Instead, she posted vague complaints about being exhausted and needing more support. In the comments, Mom defended her like always, saying, "You're doing your best, sweetheart." But between the lines, I could feel the cracks forming, a mutual friend later told me. Jessica had been missing work frequently because she couldn't find reliable childcare. My parents had started arguing with her, blaming each other for how things turned out. Their tight little trio was unraveling without me holding it together. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt calm. They weren't my responsibility anymore. They were finally facing the chaos they'd built. A week later, I got a voicemail from Mom. Her voice sounded smaller than I'd ever heard it. "Ava, I just wanted to say we miss you. Things haven't been easy." I listened, then deleted it. They were finally drowning in the guilt they tried to pour over me for years. It took months before I saw them again. It wasn't planned. I was in town for work and decided on a quiet impulse to stop by. I didn't go for reconciliation. I went for closure. When I pulled up to my parents' house, the once picture-perfect lawn was unkempt. Toys scattered across the yard, and the air of chaos hung heavy. Jessica's car was in the driveway. Mom opened the door, startled. For a moment, she just stared before her eyes filled with tears. "Ava, you're here." I nodded, stepping inside. The house looked different, tired, cluttered, lifeless. Jessica was sitting on the couch, dark circles under her eyes, her kids arguing in the background. She looked nothing like the woman who used to mock me for being too serious. No one spoke for a full minute. Finally, Mom broke the silence. "You really hurt this family when you left." Her words hit the air like a test balloon. I took a slow breath. "No, Mom. You hurt me when you decided my life wasn't mine anymore." "Ah!" Jessica's voice cracked. "I didn't realize how much I leaned on you. I thought you were just better at it." Her tone wasn't cruel this time. It was fragile. I wanted to feel angry, but all I felt was tired. Dad sat quietly in his armchair, eyes on the floor. He didn't defend anyone. He didn't say a word. That silence said more than any apology could. Before leaving, I knelt down and hugged the kids. They clung to me, innocent of everything. "I love you both," I whispered. Then I stood, looked at my parents, and said softly, "You made your choices. Now live with them." As I walked out the door, I didn't feel victorious, just free. They finally saw what my silence had cost them, and for once, I didn't need to explain a thing. It's been almost a year since that visit, and I've built a new kind of life, one that's quiet, steady, and entirely mine. My apartment is small but warm. I wake up on weekends to sunlight spilling through the curtains instead of screaming kids or guilt-laden phone calls. I spend my mornings walking by the river with coffee in hand, listening to nothing but my own thoughts. Freedom has a sound in its silence. Sometimes, I still think about them, Mom, Dad, Jessica. Not with anger anymore, but with distance, like remembering a dream that used to keep me up at night. They still reach out occasionally, usually through vague, regretful messages. "We miss you." Kids talk about you all the time, but I never respond. I don't owe them the closure they refused to give me when I was breaking under their expectations. One evening, I got another call from Mom. I watched it ring, the familiar number glowing on my screen. For a moment, I almost answered. Then I pressed decline and turned my phone face down. I poured myself a glass of wine, opened my balcony door, and let the city hum around me. That was my revenge, not shouting, not revenge plots, not vindication. Just peace. They taught me that love meant sacrifice. But I've learned that real love, healthy love, doesn't ask you to destroy yourself for it. I don't need apologies anymore. Their guilt is their own burden to carry. It's just as my peace is mine to protect. As I watch the sunset paint the sky, I can't help but smile. The girl who used to say yes to everything is gone. The woman who replaced her chooses herself every single day. Sometimes the best revenge isn't vengeance at all. It's walking away and finally meaning it.